You say you're not different.
I'm different, though. No.
With Coco, color has found the perfect glow. Hi, Coco.
Hi, Desmond.
How are you?
I'm so good.
Thank you for joining us on Robin Minds Plus.
Thank you for having me here today.
I love the hair. Like I told you the last time we met, I was like, oh my God, can we take a picture? I love your hair. Can you plug me up?
Thank you so much.
But then, how was it like growing up to become this person who has found her tribe? You have 15,000 followers on Instagram, and you always like, as all events, you always get invites. How was it like growing up and becoming that person?
So I think it had a lot to do with the family I grew up in. We had this thing when we were younger where a pastor came to the house to pray for all of us. I grew up with my brother and a lot of cousins in my house. And so everyone was saying what they wanted to be. Some people wanted to be teachers, some people wanted to be doctors, architects, all that. And I'm like, I want to be a dancer.
How did they take that?
It was like a demonic spirit had possessed me because obviously it was doing this one. But mostly my family has always just encouraged me to be myself. I never really grew up feeling like I was different. So my mom was always the type of person who would be like, be you, always be yourself. Whatever your heart tells you to be that person. Be the person you want other people to see. Stuff like that. And I think growing up, I always just adapted that to everything I was doing. I knew I wanted to be in entertainment. I tried being an actor, but all the lights, I mean, it's nice on my skin and everything, but like my eyes are like, no sis, you can't do this. I'm a writer, and I recently got into photography and video production. So I think it's just, I try to do a little bit of everything, and that's how I got here today.
Okay, fantastic. You're like jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Are you mastering all of them?
I'm trying
Have
my
you
best.
mastered all of them?
I'm trying my best to master all of them. But then there's also the question like, how do you know you're a master? I feel like there's always something to learn. So I don't think I will ever be a master in my own definition. Some people might see me and be like, oh, you're really great at this. You're an expert. And then in my head, I'll be like, this nonsense. So yeah.
But then it's really fantastic that you said your parents created that opportunity for you to thrive, for you to be really, really confident being you. So, but for a lot of people, the first question that comes around is, for people like you, it's like the skin. The first, when you step into the room is the skin. How have you been able to?
So, like I said, I never really grew up feeling different. And when I say it sometimes, it sounds silly, but I never really realized I was albino. I knew I was different, but it wasn't really something that ever stuck with me. In my mind, I was the same as everyone else. It wasn't really until secondary school, university, where people started like pointing it out more, that I started feeling more like, oh, okay, I'm not exactly like everyone else.
How did that make you feel?
Secondary school was terrible. Children can be very cruel, actually. But I think all of that helped to make me more confident, because after 2-3 years of being taunted about being albino, it got to a point where I'm like, I'm albino, okay, and so it kind of just became something I became oblivious to. It just doesn't move me anymore. Did
you think that made you put in 100% into a lot of things, like trying out film, trying out writing, trying out, because the need to now be excellent? Because people notice.
So, like you said, I'm pretty easy to notice. So it was never really a thing about being noticed. But what I did do was try to play it to my advantage. So it was more a situation of like, okay, people are definitely going to notice you. But then it can't just be a face value kind of thing. When people see you and they go, oh, you look interesting. What interesting thing are you going to tell them about you that'll make them be like, okay, she doesn't just look interesting. This is actually a really interesting person.
So you did mention just now that you didn't notice that you were albino until you were in secondary school.
Yeah.
So everything you noticed that there was a change. Who would you credit to that?
So it was one particular person that actually comes to mind every time I think about the entire change. And it was someone literally turning to me in the hostel one day and going, "You would be so beautiful if you were actually black." Yeah.
What was your reaction to the person?
Like, I just paused and I'm like, oh. Like, that was literally, I was just like, oh, I'm not black. And it was just like spiral downwards from there. I had serious self-esteem issues. People would say things like, if I got in a fight with a person, they'll be like, "Oh, is it not that stupid albino?" Stuff like that. They had a song that they used to sing, something to do with shining in the dark, stuff like that.
But then, this person, do you still see this person?
I'm not really in touch with a lot of people from my secondary school anymore, but I do see her online. We follow each other on Instagram. I do see her at certain events now and then, and we're cool.
But then, did you have a conversation with your parents, and did you tell them this? Because they knew from when you were born that you were different.
Yeah.
But then they instilled in you that mindset that be you, thrive, regardless.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you got to a point, a conversation with one person changed all of that. So, did you have any conversation with your parents?
No, I did not.
They never found out about it?
No.
So you handled this yourself?
I did.
So how were you now able to move from a place where you were down, like a down point in your life in secondary school because of what people said, which now spiraled to other people? They now created a song for you. To a person who's now everywhere, your hair, like when you step into the room, the first thing is the glow first. It's not even the skin, it's the way you carry yourself, the hair, the excellence in everything. So how were you able to move from that person who was shamed in secondary school?
It was actually a movie I saw during a break, and there's a quote from the movie. No one can make you feel inferior. It's Princess Diaries, one of my favorite movies of all time, where the chauffeur, driver, bodyguard person tells Anne Hathaway, yeah, like, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent.
Without your consent. That was really deep.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was the moment for me where I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let all the teasing and bullying or whatever define me. Was
there any process towards you? Because it's easy to just say, oh, I saw this movie and then I want to be the... Was there a process? What was the process like?
I mean,
leading up to that?
I mostly just started ignoring, like when people will call me like, hey, albino or hey, yellow, I just trained myself to tune all that out. I don't, like even when I'm walking on the road now, I don't respond to, hey, yellow, my color. Like I mostly don't hear it. And it's so much so now that it's usually the people that I'm walking with or the people I'm with that notice these things more than I do. And they're like, how do you deal with all of that? And I tell them, like, very honestly, I don't hear it.
You don't?
I don't hear it.
So
I started that way and then mostly just started building up my confidence. Like, okay, people are going to stare at you. Give them something to stare at. And it was just little baby steps at first. I was usually like very self-conscious about like wearing shorts. Things, wearing like short-sleeved or like spaghetti strap clothes. And then it was just little by little becoming more open about, being more open, if there's any other way to put it.
But then how important is the right languaging? Because you mentioned people calling you yellow, people calling you haze. Albino, how important is the right languaging? What is the right languaging? Because at this point, I feel for every person, there's a right way they want to be addressed.
So there's a conversation going on presently about whether albino is the proper term to use to address people with albinism. Personally, so I've left the conversation personally at a stage where it's what you're comfortable with. I don't mind being referred to as an albino. I'm an albino. But some people find it a very derogatory term, which can be very possible depending on the context. Like there's a way someone will call me an albino. There's a way someone will call me an albino. I will have to correct the person. Like, don't speak to me that way. But then if we're just having a conversation talking about albinos, like, oh, I met this albino somewhere the other day, the person is an albino. But most people say it's more politically correct to say person with albinism, woman with albinism. And I feel like when you say it that way, in a sense, you're kind of addressing it as a disease. It's not a disease. Albinism is not a disease. It's not a disease. It's a skin condition.
Right.
It's a genetic thing. Everyone can be an albino. Well, not everyone. You need to actually, both your parents have to have the gene. So no matter how recessive it is.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So final question, I feel like I should merge it into two.
Okay.
So you have a blog, which I checked, and then we had this joke about it, about you, oh my God, what last did I post on that blog? But then how, and then there's always that conversation for you who's like in the forefront. You have 15,000 followers on Instagram, you have over 3,000 followers on Twitter. There's that conversation for you to be the voice of people like you. So do you feel any pressure to represent, be that face?
So this is something I actually struggled with for a while, because growing up, I didn't have any albinos or people with albinism to look up to. I was mostly just going with the flow. I was taking things as they come. I basically just designed a broad path I wanted to follow, and was just hopping from stone to stone, trying this, trying that, seeing what actually works. And I remember the first time I saw Deandra Forrest, it was in the Kanye West video, and I'm like, she's like me. And I remember feeling so powerful in that moment, because I was really discouraged, because like I said, I tried to be an actor, and I'm like, okay, so I'm albino, I can never be on TV because nobody's really checking for my skin type. No one is really writing roles for albinos. No one is, like, the studio is not very, what's the word?
Friendly.
Compatible with my eyes, my skin, etc. And I saw her and I'm like, she's on TV. I can do this. And it was just really encouraging for me. And we don't really have that here in Nigeria. I started this series on my blog and eventually moved it to YouTube, called Albamazing People, where I mostly just speak to people with albinism in Nigeria. And I interviewed someone early this year, and I asked him, like, who are the albinos you look up to? And he said he doesn't know any. Like, there are no people with albinism that inspire him. He doesn't know any. And I just felt like that was a really heartbreaking moment for me. And so I've struggled with myself because, like I said, because of the whole growing up, not really feeling different thing, sometimes I feel like I'm not really an albino, because I still have those moments where I don't really feel that much different from everyone else. But I've had to accept that, yes, I am different. And whether I like it or not, I do have people following me online who are albinos and messaging me all the time like, oh my God, you inspire me. I didn't set out to be anybody's role model, but I feel like now that I'm in a situation where people are inspired by me, I should at least use my voice, which I now have, to amplify the things that could make living in Nigeria better for people with albinism.
All right, thank you so much. It was really fun having you.
Thank you.
So, describing your life with an emoji, what would it be?
You know the emoji where the baby's doing the cartwheel?
You'd have to send that to me, right?
Yeah.
So we'll show them.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Okay. Thank you so much for
having me. Had an
having
amazing
me.
time.
Yeah,
an amazing
I did.
time. Even though we didn't have all the time, but had an amazing time. Thank you.
I like to hug. Yay.
And it's a wrap. Bye, guys.
Bye.